evening and welcome to Film Forum, Atlanta's newest movie talk show where we keep you in touch with the film industry here in Georgia and review the latest films. I'm Steve Markos, I'm your host, and along with me each and every week is Aron Siegel. Hope you're doing good tonight, Aron.
I'm doing great, Steve.
You're doing good every night.
I am. I don't get colds. I don't get sick.
All right, yeah, I'm doing good. We got two movies tonight, and while we're at it, you might as well tell us what we got going here tonight.
Well, tonight we've got The Bodyguard, and we've also got Home Alone 2.
All right, and then coming up right after that, we'll have Critics' Choice. This week will be Teen Rebel films. I'll be telling you my favorite three. Aron will be giving you his. And then, as usual, our third segment of the show, we have a very special guest who Aron has rounded up again. Who's coming on today, Aron?
Tonight we've got Evan Lieberman. He's an independent filmmaker, and he'll be on later on the show.
All right. Well, let's get started then with the film reviews. We might as well start. What do you want to do?
I'll do The Bodyguard.
All right. Well, let's go. Let's get into it here.
Okay, The Bodyguard stars Kevin Costner as a former Secret Service agent that has been contracted by a pop rock star, a pop rock singer, because she's been getting threats on her life. And Whitney Houston plays the rock singer. And I'd like to go ahead and set up the clip that we've got. Kevin Costner and Whitney Houston's former bodyguard, who is now working on staff with Kevin Costner, have gotten into an argument because Kevin Costner took Whitney out a different exit when they were leaving the concert hall. And here's the clip.
I don't want to talk about this again.
And that's a scene from The Bodyguard starring Kevin Costner and Whitney Houston, directed by Mick Jackson, and written and produced by Lawrence Kasdan. Well, Steve, what did you think?
Well, I thought the movie was never consistently good. It was like a roller coaster. At times, it got really good that I really liked it, and then as soon as I get to like it, slows down almost to the point of being boring, and then it would pick back up. It was up and down type thing.
I think the musical numbers kind of dragged the film along.
Well, I didn't think they exploited her musical talent as much as they could have. I thought
that's very
true. It was, minimal. I think she wanted to stay away from singing and really wanted to act. But I really liked the ending.
What did you think of her acting performance?
Well, I know everyone's going to be scrutinizing her for acting. I thought she did good. I didn't see any problems with her. I don't think it was an Academy Award performance by all means, but it wasn't bad. I thought that she held her own, and I think that she was the most enjoyable person in the movie, to tell you the truth.
I think that the problem is that she wasn't as nasty of a celebrity as she should have been for this role. Kevin Costner should have really dreaded being her bodyguard.
And well, in a way, he did a little bit at the beginning.
I think that was a problem in the film because maybe Whitney didn't want her reputation slurred because this is her first film role.
Well, it was a romance too. They're billing this as a romantic thriller. I think it's a lot more romance. I'd say 70% romance, 30% thriller.
And it's kind of a mystery too.
Did you think? Well, yeah, you got a killer. It's very similar. Also, another movie I watched just to see if I could tell people it was similar to was the Someone to Watch Over Me.
Yeah, it is. It's very similar to
where
that.
Somewhere to Watch Over Me was about 50-50 on the thriller, romance. Equal, I would say, as far as entertaining-wise. They're both about the same to me. It seemed like a movie it's going to come and go. It's not going to be on anybody's top 10 list, but it's not going to be on anybody's worst 10 list. it's kind of just a mediocre film.
It's a film that just came out for the holiday season.
Yeah, and also it's also a film that to me would be a good date movie because there's nothing really offensive in this film. It's rated R, but at the time I didn't know, and I thought this must be PG-13.
Yeah, I didn't see anything in there that was really R.
There's no sex scenes. There's no extreme violence, minimal violence, a few bad words. So it's a kind of movie that girls will like. You can take a date to. You go with your mom. You're not going to be offended by seeing two people going at it up there like some of these R-rated movies.
That's true.
As far as stars, like I said, it was up and down, mediocre. I'd give it 2 stars out of our 4-star system.
I'd give it 2 stars out of the system, too.
All right, so we were unanimous on that. A 2 stars, a middle-of-the-road film, The Bodyguard, which is out today, in fact. So we'll get on with our next film.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. Our second film that we'll be reviewing today is called Home Alone 2, Lost in New York. Now, this is a remake, or a sequel, I should say, to Home Alone, which came out a couple years ago. Now, Home Alone is the biggest grossing comedy film of all time. This time around, the whole cast and crew is back. Macaulay Culkin, Daniel Stern, Joe Pesci, Mom, Dad, Uncle Frank, all the kids, director Chris Columbus, and writer John Hughes. To sum the movie up really quick, if you've seen Home Alone 1, I need not say any more. If you haven't, this time around, instead of getting left at home for the Christmas holidays, Kevin McAllister gets on the wrong plane and ends up in New York. So we'll take a look here at some of the what I call Looney Tune comedy. This is like the old Looney Tunes where they're beating each other over the head. And this comes towards the end of the film when Kevin McAllister finally meets his old nemesis, the Wet Bandits, and tries to foil their attempt to rob a toy store. So let's take a look at the clip.
Hey, you didn't lose any teeth. Come on, he went to the second floor.
Hey, why don't you guys try the stairs?
Right. Wait a minute. Don't you remember what happened last year?
No.
Watch this. Let's get him! Oh! He busted me right in my mouth, Marv! That's one. Don't worry, Harry! I'll get him! Ow! Right in the schnoz! That's 2. Come on, let's get him. Oops. That's 3.
All right, that was a scene from Home Alone, which again opened last Friday.
Home Alone 2.
Home Alone 2. I want to get up on my soapbox on this one really quick here. To me, this represents all that's wrong in Hollywood. This is rot gut filmmaking. This is the most unoriginal movie I've ever seen in my life. I can't believe it. Even the jokes were the same. They couldn't even come up with new jokes. Man, this movie makes me sick.
That's why you said it's a remake.
I mean,
it's very similar to the first one.
You know, these guys are getting paid a lot of money, particularly John Hughes. I'm sure he's getting millions. It's almost as if they're saying, this is a movie for kids. Kids are going to go see it. Let's not put any effort into this. Who cares if it's good or bad? It's gonna make money. Hell, it opened to $31 million this weekend. That's double what it opened. The original Home Alone opened to $17 million. It's like they didn't care. I hate a movie that.
Well, and even with the older characters, the characters that you don't understand, that the young kids don't understand. Like in the original Home Alone, there was the character, the old guy that supposedly killed all of his family. In this one, you've got the bird lady.
Yeah,
or the pigeon lady. So it's like
everything was
very
the same.
similar.
I mean, the opening you could have had the opening from Home Alone. I mean, everyone's running around confused. Kevin says he hates his family, gets sent upstairs. The clock gets unplugged. They're late again. It's the same Airport Express. You could have the same movie until then. After that, they knock the statue over like they did. Joe Pesci gets his head burned with a blowtorch again. It just. No originality at all. And I think film's supposed to be creativity somewhere along the line.
Well, a lot of times they use the same formula because the
they
first
know it
film,
works. And like I said, they think it's kids, and kids do go and see it. However, I don't think kids were particularly entertained at this movie. Now, they laughed at the end when they started the Roadrunner coyote type backing them, bopping
bashing
them over
their
the heads
heads
and all.
or
Kids were
Three
loving
Stooges
that, but that came an hour and a half into the film, and I didn't hear a kid laugh throughout the rest of that movie. In fact, when I got up, there was one kid sleeping in the aisle, you know, where the Cokes, where the sticky Cokes are and everything. He hated it that much that his parents had to wake him up. You know, you got Macaulay Culkin who's walking through the role like Linus on Charlie Brown Christmas, being philosophical and all that. I don't want to hear him being philosophical. It's like didn't it seem like he had
too
grown
much for
up?
the kids.
Yeah, didn't it seem like he was 20 years old suddenly? He was so different from the first movie.
Yeah,
and
I think so too.
Like I said, let me see if there's anything else I hated about this movie. So kids falling asleep. Like I said, if we're trying to teach
what kind of
morals
stars
on
are you
this.
going to give this?
All right, well, this movie, like I said, it's not, let me say this will be a first. I'm going to give this movie no stars. Not because it's so much of a boring movie or because it's a bad technically movie. It's not a technically bad movie. It's not boring. It just makes me sick that people are getting away with this kind of crap.
Okay, I'll give this film 1 star.
1 star. So we're coming out to a half
a
star
star
on that. This is just bad. Parents, whatever you do, get out of taking your kids to this movie.
Or if you're
Hire
going
a
to take them,
babysitter.
take them to a matinee.
Yeah. Rent Home Alone 1 and put 2 on it and show it to them. I guarantee you your kids won't know the difference. That's
We want to remind everybody that we are a call-in show. The number here is 873-6713. And so if you disagree with us or if you agree with us 100%, please call in. 873-6713.
All right, let's get on with the top 10 here in Atlanta. All right.
Okay. Checking the Atlanta box office this week. The top 10, the number 10 film is Candyman. It drops from number 7 and hangs on to the last spot at number 10. After rising for 2 consecutive weeks, Mighty Ducks falls 4 places to number 9. And at number 8, still in the Atlanta top 10, is Pure Country.
And then nationally, again, nowhere to be seen. So the country fans here in Atlanta are still keeping this up there.
And rising 1 notch to number 7 is Last of the Mohicans.
That's been in the top 10 for a long time.
That's still there.
That's a big movie, a big sleeper. I didn't think it would do that well.
Falling out of the top 5 after 5 weeks is Under Siege, at number 6. And at number 5 is River Runs Through It. It drops 1 place.
And it gives number 5 nationally as well.
At number 4, falling from number 2, is Passenger 57. And debuting at number 3 is Malcolm X.
And last week I said I didn't think it would make its money back. It made $13.5 million. It needs $35 million on screen. Now you're talking probably another $5 to $10 million for promotion. It needs to make $45 million to break even.
I think it'll do it.
Well, Dracula went from $60 million to $15. It dropped in half. So this could
all
put
the
it at
guys stopped
7.
going to that film.
This could be 13.5 one week, 7 this week. It's only going to be at 20. It's going to keep taking. I still don't think it's going to make the money back.
And at number 2 is Dracula after 1 week at number 1.
$53.7 million in 2 weeks.
And our number 1 film is Steve's favorite film
Home
for
Alone
this
2.
week is Home Alone 2. It broke Dracula's 7th place opening and is now...
It's made $31.1 million. Last week, Dracula opened up at the 7th biggest all-time opening, and I guess it's 8th now because Home Alone just beat it. So I guess now let's go on to Critics' Choice. And this week, like I said, we're doing teen rebel films. Aaron, what's your favorite 3?
My favorite teen rebel films. This was kind of difficult because I thought about it and I said, I wonder what would be considered rebellious. And my number 3 film is Rebel Without a Cause, starring James Dean and Natalie Wood. Now, this doesn't really, it's very dated. It doesn't seem to hold its own among teen rebellion films. And also, I went back and watched it earlier this week, and the print that they have transferred from film to video, they did something what was known as Warner color, which is a process of film developing, and the blues fade out of the films. So I got to watch mostly a reddish, pinkish film instead of having the real, true colors to the film. I'm keeping it in my top 3. Honorable mentions here would be Heathers, which just barely missed the top 3. My number 2 film in this set is Pump Up the Volume. This stars Christian Slater and is a film about a amateur radio operator who has several broadcasts that are objectionable to lots of the adults in the town, and he seems to be able to take over the town with his radio broadcasts. My number 1 film is Rock and Roll High School. This has P.J. Souls and was directed by Roger Corman. It is and also has the
Ramones.
The Ramones, right. Anyway, Directed by Roger Corman, this is the ultimate in teen rebellion films because it's got a great soundtrack to it and a lot of fun action and violence. And that's it for my top 3.
All right. I'll go on to my top 3. I differ with Aron on a few aspects. My number 3 movie is Over the Edge. And this movie came in 1979. This, to me, is the epitome of teen rebellion films. This is Matt Dillon's original film. This is his debut. And it's a story of a bunch of kids in a planned development community where the parents are more concerned about property value and selling new homes than they are worried about chaperoning their kids. They hang out at the local teen hangout. They sell drugs, do drugs, drop acid, drink grain alcohol, have sex with anybody. They're all 13, 14-year-old kids, and it goes a little overboard. There's no kids that are redeemable. Everyone's a drug addict. I knew a lot of people like this, but then again, I knew where I grew up, just here in Atlanta, a lot of good kids. So it seems to go over the edge a little bit, as the title says. But it does capture the reality of the violence, and as well as it will open the eyes of the middle-class folks to people who are living in their own little private Idaho and aren't aware of these problems. So it's a little old. It's low budget, some rough film, some rough acting, but it's kind of like Easy Rider or Billy Jack along that category. But it's an important topic film, and it's a good message, and I think it's a decent one if you can check it out. And that was 79. Also a good rock and roll soundtrack, so it may be my idea of what Aron thought rock and roll high school was. Number 2 is a movie that came out in 1980 called Foxes, directed by Adrian Lyne, stars Jodie Foster, Sally Kellerman, Scott Baio, and Randy Quaid. I wasn't able to rewatch this movie like I do because I couldn't find it on video at the store I was at. I know it is on video. This is almost like a coming-of-age movie as well as a rebel film. This time around, it's four girls who are problem girls to their parents, to their broken families. One girl's a drug addict, alcoholic. One girl's idea of success is just getting married. Jodie Foster is living with her problems at home as well as kind of being a mother to all these people. It's one of those wonderful movies that you've never heard about. And there's a really traumatic scene at the end, and when Jodie Foster starts reminiscing about her old friends. It's really heartwarming. It's one of the scenes I remember in that film and one of my favorite film scenes of all time. So if you can find it, check it out.
And it's got a soundtrack by Giorgio Moroder.
I didn't know that. And number 1, Rebel Without a Cause. I don't like old movies because the acting sometimes is too fake. The emotions are too drawn out. People just don't act like they really do. But I love this movie for one reason, and it's James Dean. I'm not a James Dean fan. I'm not a fanatic. But I loved seeing his performance in this movie. He's so far ahead of his time in acting. He's acting like they do nowadays. He was nominated for Best Actor in 2 of his 3 films. He wasn't nominated in Rebel Without a Cause because that same year he was nominated for East of Eden. However, he died before he even knew he was nominated. He died in September, so he never knew he was nominated. Giant came out the year later. He was nominated again. Great performance by James Dean. I haven't seen any of his other films. And where Aron said it was dated, I didn't think so. I thought it holds its own. Sure, today's teen rebel films have a lot more sex, violence, drugs, but I enjoyed getting away from that and seeing a movie without that kind of thing, and it's kind of fun just to see what the problems of kids were in 1955. It's a classic. Check it out. And those are my top 3, and they've been telling me we've got a phone call, so let's go to it. You're on the air, caller.
Hello? Caller?
Hello?
Do we still have a phone call?
Hello?
Yeah. Go ahead. You're on the air.
Yeah, I just want to say why I liked Home Alone 2.
You liked it.
Yeah, because, I love movies with small boys. Mm-hmm. I really found Kevin McAllister very cute and sexy,
Okay.
And,
thank you, caller.
I like how...
Well, I'm not that kind of guy, and maybe there's another movie you might like called Fallen Angel where it's about child molesting. You may like that one. Check that out. All right. I guess now we're going on to...
Thank you, caller, for your insightful remarks.
Yeah. What we got now coming up? Let me check my cards here. We got home video releases. Let's go over that really quick. And this week on home video releases, we have All I Want for Christmas, which came out on the 18th. And on the 24th, we have Brenda Starr, which I believe is with Brooke Shields. This is one of her comeback movies. And also Patriot Games, which is the sequel to Hunt for Red October. Harrison Ford this time taking...
Instead of Alec Baldwin's place.
Yeah, because Alec Baldwin wanted too much money, and they said, the hell with you. We'll get someone with a little more clout if we're going to pay him a lot of money, and they got Harrison Ford. Also on pay-per-view this week, I believe there's more movies than what we were told, but for sure there's The Babe, and Folks, which is with
Don Amici and Tom Selleck.
Tom Selleck.
Without
yeah.
a mustache.
Yeah, and this is, like I said, check channel 34 for showtimes and dollar values or whatever it's going to cost you. And now we're back, Aaron, with our guest.
Each week on a Film Forum, we have a special
there
guest.
we go.
Where are we?
We're waiting for the screen to
Okay,
come back.
each
We're
week on Film Forum, we have a special guest. This week is no different. This week we have Evan Lieberman. He is an independent filmmaker, and we'd like to welcome Evan to the show. How you doing, Evan?
on. Yeah,
Okay.
Thanks for coming on.
Why don't you tell us exactly what you do and how you got started with, I understand you did something with screenwriting and came back to Atlanta?
First, I have to tell you my favorite Teen Rebellion movie.
right.
Okay.
Come on. Wild in the Streets. Are you all familiar with this?
No, we're not.
It's this incredible movie where a rock star is elected president of the United States, and, and everybody over 30 is put in jail, right? And yeah, the voting age is lowered to 12, and
That
there's
sounds like a winner.
oh, absolutely, absolutely, it's
All
great.
right.
And also, I like Over the Edge very much. I think that was a really good choice.
All right.
Okay.
But yes, I'm an independent filmmaker. I was a screenwriter for several years, or I still do that some, although it's definitely taken a back seat to making sort of small, quirky films that I.
And how did you get involved with making these films?
Well, what
Going from
happened was I
screenwriter.
went to film school in Los Angeles. I went to the American Film Institute, and I was real fortunate when I got out of there. I was able to work and write for the movies and television, which was a incredibly unsatisfying experience.
Right.
Oh yeah, I mean the first thing I ever wrote for for money was a show for Canadian television that now I cannot watch.
What is that?
Interestingly enough, years before the fact, it was called A Home Alone. Not a comedy starring a young boy, but a tragedy starring an older person altogether. And yeah, it was actually it was dismal. It really was. And it wouldn't have been so bad if it was dismal and it was the script I wrote. But somebody else in between when I turned the script into the
That seems to
studio.
be the story.
Oh yeah,
that we
this
hear
happens
over and over.
it-
Let me ask you. I know independent film. Most people probably think, oh, this is going to be a low budget, no name. I guess it runs the gamut from a movie such as Swoon, which came out a couple weeks ago,
A great
which will
movie.
go unrecognized, to 1492, which was an independent film, $40 million.
Right.
Now, where do you fall in here?
No, I fall much closer to the swoon category
swoon
than to the
category.
1492
Why don't we
category.
go ahead and run one of your the clips that you brought
Yeah, you
in.
did bring a movie that
Okay.
you did do.
Yeah, I brought something that I shot this summer. I was director of photography on this film, and I co-wrote the script with the director, Cecilia Minyuki, who's a fairly well-esteemed
Now,
Italian
you say
director.
this was to be shown over in Italy
It
more
will-
than here
yeah.
in the United States.
Yes, it'll be dubbed. In Italy, they dub everything. It doesn't matter what language you shoot it in to begin
Why
with.
don't we go ahead and roll the
Let's
clip
take
then?
a look at your work
Great.
here.
I told you no one would show up. You know, in a way, I'm glad we get to keep it. Let's name her.
You're out of your mind. It must be the girl. She made you crazy.
Me crazy? You're the one willing to throw over your best friend for some stranger.
Okay, you're so smart. Go and get her.
I mean, what? I'm not interested in her. I mean, I just like her.
Ah, typical. You just...
All right. That was a clip from your film, which you said it was in a film festival over in Italy?
Yeah, it was shown at MyFed, which is the industry festival in Milan.
And what's this called?
It's called More or Less.
More or less.
Yeah, it's...
All right. I had a question, getting back to independence. I don't know why, like I said, the level you're at, but is there anything you can tell us? How do independent filmmakers get financed? Who do they go to? What kind of spiel do they give these guys to get the money? And then how do you get your money if you differ from, say, a bigger independent type person?
I do differ. The way I differ is that mostly I use my proceeds from screenwriting jobs to finance my less commercial
So you're
kinds
financing
of
your own.
endeavors. Yeah, I do it myself. I've been working with a group called the We Scotty Players, and we've been doing this sort of animated, this avant-garde animated film, and we're starting to sort of explore the grants and public financing route. Although that's just incredibly difficult
Do you
and
know, as far
complicated.
as, say, someone making a Hollywood production, you know anything on how they get financed, what they do?
Oh, sure, I know.
you
I know
tell
a
us?
lot about that kind of financing. No, I mean that kind of financing is just a matter of you have as a screenwriter or a producer, you have a project and you bring it to either a studio or an independent production company, people who are in the business of either making films or selling them sort
What
of
about
once.
like banks or something like that?
That's almost impossible.
Is it?
Yeah, very, very few independent filmmakers go to banks. Although I recently read a story about an independent filmmaker whose name escapes me now, unfortunately, whose brother-in-law was a stockbroker and who put out a stock offering for his film and was able to make his film through a public stock offering. That, to me, just sounds unbelievable. It would make a great film in itself, I
We
think.
have a phone call. Caller, do you have a question for our guest?
Yes, how you doing?
Doing all right.
First of all, I agree with your review of Home Alone 2. Thank you. God, please. Movies that are made today with this in mind. It surprises me. Second of all, is it Yvonne?
Evan.
Evan. Well, I saw the clip, but Evan, I have a question for you. Now, it seems a lot of independent filmmakers like yourself today, while, of course, I didn't see all the film, and you said it yourself, you're going for a more avant-garde approach. Now, do you feel that is more beneficial to independent filmmakers, or is it for your own creation?
The reason that you go into independent filmmaking is because you want to do something more personal and something more individual. And if that sort of falls into sort of the area that we would call avant-garde because it's different from your average film, then as an independent, that's not really your first concern. Your first concern is to make the kind of film you want to make.
Well, I admire you for your viewpoint on that. But then again, let me ask you this. As the #1 film in America now points out, is it not the responsibility of people like yourself or people who have insight and the ability to make good films to try to, I don't know, maybe woo, well, like they point out, 1492, look at this, a $40+ million picture that is independently made. I mean, how would you think someone like yourself could go about making something like that?
Somebody like myself probably wouldn't make a $40 million movie, just because it's too, it's too ridiculously huge. But I understand your question. I think you're right that it would be a very good thing if people with more, more sort of socially conscious ideas, more artistic ideas would be making $40 million movies. On the other hand, there's a very good reason why that's not the case.
Making $40 million back.
Thanks
Thanks
for
for
calling.
calling.
Okay, that's all the time we've got. We'd like to remind everybody to join us next week when we'll have our Critics' Choice be science fiction time travel movies. We'll have 2 feature releases. And we'd like to wish our executive producer a very happy birthday. And if we can get a camera on him. Oh,
Randy.
he's taking the technical
Where's he
direction.
going?
Can we get it?
Well, happy birthday, Randy. This is a prop.
Yeah, that's kind of an interesting case.
I thought we were going to get to eat here. To you, happy
Get a close-up on
birthday,
it?
dear Randy. That's our cameraman.
Can you get a camera on him? Get a camera on him, please. Try. Turn it around. Turn it around. Go. Do it anyway.